Do you have what it takes to join the Secret Service? From protecting the president to chasing down credit fraud, the Secret Service actually has some broad powers, and some even broader requirements to be a part of it. We'll show you some of the strangest aspects of taking on this job. It might just change the way you think about these men and women in black. Now, to get your security clearance to proceed, be sure to click on that subscribe button, and while you're at it, why not also activate those notifications? Let's begin. A 9-step process. There's a good chance you've already worked more than a few jobs in your life so far. For most, the procedure always seems the same. Fill out an application, head in for an interview, and then, if successful, go through a brief period of probationary work. Of course, not every job is the same, but you get the gist of it. Well, it likely won't surprise you that applying to work for the Secret Service is a bit more involved. Did we say a bit? We mean a lot. First, you need to fill out an application package that is over 30 pages long. Then there's the written test, drug test, vision test, and hearing test. Once that's all done, you get the preliminary interview. Just when you think you might be nearing the end, they put you in front of a panel for questioning. Heading home after all of this doesn't bring any relief either. That's because you then have a home interview. With all the interviews and tests out of the way, it's time to get strapped up to a polygraph machine, aka a lie detector test. Even if you manage to get through all of this incredibly, you still have to pass the physically and mentally demanding training that lasts nearly 30 weeks. Hide the pain. In many jobs, injuries happen. That's just a fact of life. A sprained ankle, a burn on your hand, these are the sorts of injuries that happen every day in a range of occupations. Now, in most jobs, if you get hurt during the training or probationary period, that won't spell an end to your chances of working there. You'll just take a couple days off to recoup, and before you know it, you'll be back at work flipping those burgers as if nothing ever happened. The Secret Service is a bit different. After passing all those tests and interviews, candidates enter a very grueling training program. Physically, things can get pretty rough with all the tackling of suspects and negotiating obstacles. As a result, people get injured, but they do their best to hide it. For instance, some recruits have confessed to the fact that trainees are willing to hide serious injuries like broken ribs because they fear it will end their chances of continuing on in the program. They think the instructors are actually there to find excuses to kick trainees out. Therefore, one unwritten requirement to pass training is that you simply do your best to grin and bear it when it comes to injuries. Taking one for the team. Now, most of us think that the pinnacle of service for an agent is being posted right near the president to protect them from harm. Sure, on TV, we see groups of agents looking super cool in their black suits and sunglasses as they move along beside the president. Yet, it's not as awesome as you think because that posting actually requires you put up with a lot of crap. For instance, one agent assigned to Lyndon Johnson reported a rather uncomfortable scenario one day. Not known to be one to hold back, LBJ decided he needed to relieve himself outside. Agents huddled around close to him to provide some privacy. While performing this duty, the president ended up urinating on one agent and simply shrugged it off as a perk of the job. Don't think for 1 minute it got any better for other agents during other presidencies. Gerald Ford allegedly used to embarrass his agents often. Allegedly, if you were detailed to be near the president during a day he felt a bit gassy, you could expect to be ridiculed. What do we mean? Well, Ford reportedly would stink up a room and then blame it on the nearest agent while ridiculing them. Now that is a weapon of mass destruction. Not just law enforcement. Secret Service agents are federal agents who receive in-depth training and are tasked with protecting the president and other VIPs. Of course, with such a job requirement, these agents need to be familiar with law enforcement training and also be able to handle a gun. Because of this, it seems pretty obvious that those people who want to get into the Secret Service have some type of military or law enforcement background. Nothing strange about that at all. But hold on for a second. It actually turns out that this is no longer a primary factor in being eligible. As the world of threats evolves, so too has the hiring criteria for the agency. They no longer just need law-savvy, gun-toting, suit-wearing bodyguards, as things are no longer about sheer physical capabilities and reflexes. No, the agency reportedly needs people who are also very cerebral and can do everything from thinking well outside the box to handling IT issues and internet safety. That probably explains why the Secret Service has been hiring recruits from non-traditional sources as artistry, philosophy, and computer science. Unequal training. In most regular jobs, there's usually some sort of on-the-job training or continuing education. For instance, if you work in the service industry, you may be required to endure an occasional refresher course about workplace safety or first aid. In other jobs, you may have to have regular meetings or go over the proper use of certain machinery or how to file the TPS reports. The Secret Service is no different in this respect. However, what is a bit unusual is that the amount of training varies a lot among agents. For instance, one report showed that on average, agents trained for 46 hours per year. This could include everything from sidearm training to investigative procedures. However, during the same period, members of the uniformed arm of the Secret Service received just 25 minutes of total training. We don't know about you, but we're thinking if you hate annoying training sessions, then the uniformed Secret Service is the branch for you. After all, 25 minutes a year is probably a lot less than most fast food employees get while they're going over a safety refresher course. Alright, we need to verify your credentials a little further with this quiz. In November 2016, the Secret Service seized the largest stash of counterfeit currency in its history in Peru. How much fake money was seized? It's a lot, and we'll tell you the correct answer at the end of the video. No life. Work can definitely take up a lot of time and distract us from other things in our life like our family and friends. After all, take me for example. I'm here narrating this video for you while I could be on the beach drinking margaritas. Nonetheless, we can all agree that work can get pretty distracting at times. If you think shift work or a job as an emergency service worker makes for a stressful life, then you probably shouldn't think about joining the Secret Service. According to some agents, the rather strange unwritten requirement here is that you give up pretty much everything to work in this job. This is especially true if you're in the protective division. Agents can expect to always be on the move, no matter what time of day. One moment you can be standing guard outside a house in the rain, then several hours later, you're flying to another destination to prepare for a VIP arrival. You'll miss meals and sleep on a regular basis. Perhaps most importantly, agents confess that you will likely miss birthday parties, graduations, holidays, and wedding anniversaries. Sorry, but the president and his family are considered a far higher priority than anyone in your family. Working out. When you think about it, you never really see any overweight or out-of-shape looking Secret Service agents. That makes sense since these men and women are required to react with lightning-fast reflexes and have the endurance necessary to undertake a long investigation or a shift protecting the president. Speaking of protecting the president, we all know what that looks like. After all, there are the images of the agents walking beside the limousine or providing a protective barrier between the American leader and any potential threats. Yet some agents have to be in really good shape because some presidents have enjoyed the occasional jog or workout regime. Obviously, the president can't just go off jogging by himself, so a select group of agents have to enjoy running just as much as previous POTUSes. We're pretty sure the Secret Service questionnaire doesn't ask if you would go running with the president every day. However, if you're tasked with protecting the president or a presidential candidate and they feel like going out for a run, guess what? So do you. Whether jogging with Bill Clinton, biking with John Kerry, or going for 100-degree runs with George Bush, there's always at least one agent taking part, whether they like it or not. More than the president. So, as you've likely gathered, protecting the president and other VIPs is a big task on the U.S. Secret Service. It's not surprising that we think this because it is the most high-profile of the tasks this agency performs. Yet, would it surprise you even more to learn that this is not the primary function of the Secret Service? That's right. The task of protecting the president was only added to the to-do list of the agency. The Secret Service began their existence as an investigative body that looked into issues of financial crime, such as counterfeiting. In fact, the primary investigative mission of the Secret Service today remains safeguarding the financial systems of the United States. In a nutshell, pretty much any crime that involves money is somehow tied to this organization. Yet it doesn't end there. And this is where things get kind of strange. In addition to counterfeiters, fraudsters, and potential assassins, the Secret Service is also responsible for investigating child abduction and molestation cases. We bet most people didn't know that. This came about after officials reasoned with agents who were skilled at tracking down assassins would have the skills necessary to track down those who target children. It's strange, but very true. Hired muscle. Superficially, the agents of the Secret Service can have the appearance of a bouncer who stands outside of a high-end or super shady club. After all, the suit, sunglasses, and emotionless expression seem prerequisites for that. In a way, the agents can be seen as a sort of bouncer force, out to protect the president and his VIP entourage. Don't believe us? Try running towards the president the next time he's out in public and tell us what happens. Okay, don't actually do that because at a minimum you'll be tackled to the ground and bruised up pretty badly. Ultimately, the president's personal agents can be viewed as a kind of goon squad. If you think that's a bit harsh, just consider what Franklin D. Roosevelt had his team do on a regular basis. We know that FDR faced crippling disease, but he wanted Americans to see him as independent and strong. That's why there are few images of him in a wheelchair or using a walker to brace himself. However, when photographers happened to snap images of him looking sickly or vulnerable, FDR had his agents take the cameras and destroy the film so no negative images of him could be circulated in the press. It sort of sounds like a scene we associate more with The Godfather than the president. Wingmen. It turns out the White House has seen more than a couple presidents who weren't always faithful to their wives. From FDR to LBJ to JFK, there are definitely quite a few rumors, allegations, and confessions suggesting that when the First Lady was out of town, the president wasn't alone. Of course, in situations like this, agents become almost wingmen, or wingwomen, who would keep an eye out for a returning First Lady or even delay her to buy the president time to remove any evidence. John F. Kennedy apparently had so many mistresses that agents were almost always stumbling across the president while he was hanging out with a secretary or Swedish flight attendant. Bill Clinton's affairs were so well known to agents that they allegedly codenamed one regular visitor Energizer. Agents were so used to the visits they coordinated communication with the agents guarding Hillary Clinton so no one ever accidentally discovered what was going on. If the First Lady decided to come home early, agents would inform the president to wrap up negotiations with Energizer as soon as possible. So, any clues on how much counterfeit money was seized in the record-breaking bust in Peru in 2016? The answer: $30 million. And that was just the US currency. Agents also seized an additional 50,000 euros. Well, folks, that's the end of our training seminar for today. Training here at TheRichest is pretty demanding, and we expect you to continue watching our nearly endless supply of videos. Of course, it's a lot easier to stay on top of things if you make sure that the subscribe button is fully activated. We'll see you in the next training session. Class dismissed.